What's going on, guys? Welcome to another 2-Minute Tuesday. The 10,000 hour rule is the idea that it takes roughly 10,000 hours of practice in order to achieve mastery in any certain field. So for soccer, we can suggest that in order to become a professional, it would take 10,000 hours of training in order to do so. This idea or rule was brought up by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers, which is a fantastic book that I think all athletes or pretty much anybody should read. But this brings up the question, what's my opinion on it? Do I believe that if anyone were to put in 10,000 hours of work that they would become a pro? Do I think it's applicable to soccer? What do I think this rule gets wrong? What do I think it gets right? Well, let's put the time on the screen and let's completely ignore it because I'm definitely going over on this video, but let's get started. First things first, I want to say that I am a huge believer in the 10,000 hour rule. It was actually even a belief of mine before I read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Ever since I was a little kid, my dad would hammer in this idea into my head that if I were just to put in more hours of work training or learning something or just trying to do something, that slowly but surely I would progress faster than the other kids that weren't putting in that same amount of time and effort. Everybody learns different skills at different rates, and although there might be some people that can learn a skill faster than you, and there can be some people that learn the skill slower than you, if you just put in more hours, eventually, even if you're a slow learner, you can pass the fast learners who aren't working that hard. So my dad pushed me every single day to work harder, to put in extra hours, whether it was in basketball, soccer, schoolwork, or just working out. And over a long period of time, over years, I could see myself progressing much faster than a lot of the other kids that weren't putting in as much hours that I was putting in. I saw firsthand how hours trained led to improvement, and how more hours and more effort led to even more improvement. I also directly saw this when about 19 years old, and I did 100,000 juggles over 3 months to improve my first touch and control. At the beginning of the year, before I did those 100,000 juggles and all that extra training for my first touch, I actually kind of built up a reputation for not having the best control of the ball. It would constantly bounce off my foot to the defender and I would always lose it. I put in that work and that extra time over my freshman year, did 1,000 juggles every single night until I would come back to training and literally shock my teammates, my coaches, and myself with some of the touches I was doing on the field. So I 100% believe that putting in that 10,000 hours of work in a field will allow you to achieve mastery in that. However, before you just run outside right now and train 12 hours a day just to mindlessly get touches and time on the ball so you can reach that milestone of 10,000 hours, so you can achieve mastery, you have to realize that the quality of your training is just as important as the quantity of your training. You can't put in 10,000 hours of mediocre training and expect to become a pro. You need to have high quality training in order to really improve. Malcolm Gladwell calls this deliberate training, and deliberate training is defined by a few things. One, there needs to be a specific goal of the training in order to improve a certain skill or set of skills. Two, there needs to be repetition to ingrain these movements or these skills into your muscle memory. Three, every single mistake that you make is highly critiqued either by you or by a coach and worked on to improve and to fix that so that mistake doesn't happen again. And four, it's highly mentally demanding. After an hour of deliberate training, you should be mentally exhausted, even though your body might not be. You really shouldn't be able to have a deliberate training session that lasts over 2 hours. If you can, it really means that you're probably not 100% engaged to what you're doing. That's why pros don't train for 5-6 hours a day, because it's just too mentally and physically exhausting and would lead to negative effects with continued use. So those deliberate training hours is what gets you to improve, and those hours are what counts to the 10,000 hour rule. When I was juggling that ball every single night at college, I had a routine that I did every single time. If I dropped the ball, I would get frustrated and I would analyze why I dropped it there. Why did that happen? What part of the foot did I use, and why did the ball not go where I wanted it to go? Unfortunately, true deliberate training isn't really fun at all. It's tiring, it's frustrating, and it honestly can suck all the fun and enjoyment out of the game. And a lot of people will disagree with that. A lot of people will say that's not how the game should be played or approached. And to be honest, I do agree with that to an extent. I think it's crucial to have off days where you don't focus on what you're doing and just mindlessly kick the ball around and have fun. Even at the professional level, I think it's very important because it helps remind us why we started playing this game in the first place. And at its very core, soccer is just a fun game that we all fell in love with as a kid. Which actually brings me to my next point, and that's that kids under 12 should focus on developing a love for the game over anything else. Just playing games, having fun, and developing a passion for the game should take precedence over deliberate training at that age. You want them to be excited to go out and play soccer and to train. You don't want them to view that as a chore or work. But once you get into that age of 14, 15, 16 years old, and you really start to decide that maybe you do want a career in soccer, that's when it might be time to start spending less time goofing off at the field and more time doing deliberate training hours. And once you get up to the professional level, it's almost all deliberate training. And it's so mentally draining and exhausting and frustrating that sometimes it seems like it's almost a very stressful job. And that might sound negative, but to be honest, you learn just to absolutely love the feeling of improving and success and winning, that you are 100% willing to go through hell in order to achieve what you want to achieve. I also think that the 10,000 hour rule is not a perfect number. A lot of kids view that as the goal, the milestone, and once they achieve that 10,000 hours, it will be done, they'll be a pro. But that number was just an average number that elite violinists had done over their career in order to get where they were today. Some elite violinists took more than 10,000 hours and some took much less. But that pattern still persisted, that the elite level had put in more training hours than the lower tiered pro level, and the lower tiered pro level had put in more hours than the amateur level. There also is just so many more factors that go into becoming a professional soccer player, like your athleticism, your speed, your body type, your mental strength, your tactical IQ, your coachability, your rate of learning, and your confidence. But I really think that so many of these skills and everything can be improved with deliberate training. So that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know I'm way over time, but I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I love talking about the 10,000 hour rule because this is something that is near and dear to my heart, something I really believe in. But if you guys like this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.